Hi, Hank. Are you going to help show how to do Monterey turns? Huh? This is Hank. Who's a good boy? Hazel's right up there. You can't see her. Okay, so Monterey turns. All right. So if you already know how to do a toe switch, Monterey turns aren't going to seem too hard at all. Okay, but if you don't know how to do a toe switch, they can seem tricky. Okay, this is something that newcomers can have a hard time learning. So first I just want to quickly show you toe switches, because if you find that you're having a hard time doing Monterey turns of any type, you want to work on your toe switches, okay? Because what we do for toe switches in terms of where we have our weight and don't have our weight, and what we do with Monterey turns is exactly the same. The only difference is that the Monterey turns use like a toe switch kind of as the foundation, but there's a particular move in there that we're going to turn on, okay? So it's essentially the identical move, it's just that Monterey turns make a turn on one of the steps, okay? So a toe switch, we point our toe to the side, we step in, we point our other toe to the side, and we step in. Okay, so toe switch, remember it starts with a toe point. Toe, step, and then we switch over and do toe, step. That's a toe switch, okay? On a Monterey turn, we're going to do the same thing with our feet. But on the second move, which is the first step, we're going to make a turn. That's the only way toe switches and Monterey turns are different, is that on Monterey turns, on the second move, okay, we're going to make a turn. So there are two types of Monterey turns. There are quarter Monterey turns that are going to turn us a quarter from where we are, and there are half Monterey turns, which are going to turn us a half from where we start, okay? All of them are going to start with a point to the side, just like a toe switch. It's the second move that we're going to make the turn. So on a toe switch, we wouldn't turn. We'd just step in, and then we'd point, and we'd step in again. But on the Monterey turns, we're going to point first, and on that first step we're going to make, which is the second move, right, we're going to make the turn. So if we're going to turn a quarter to the right with it, we're going to, it's going to start off with our right foot if we're doing a quarter right Monterey turn. On the second move, so we just pointed the second move, we're going to make the turn and we're going to step down, just like we would on a toe switch. The second part of it is exactly like the second part of a toe switch. We're not going to turn at all. We're just going to point to the side and step in, okay? So again, we point to the side, we turn with a step, and then we point to the side and we step in. No turning on that second bit. See how they're the same? So a toe switch, point, step, a quarter right Monterey, point, turn and step, quarter right, point, step. Okay? Let's do a few more just so you get some practice, okay? Point, turn with a step, point, step. Again. Touch, step, touch, step. Okay, you have to have slidey shoes, right, for this to work, or some dance socks on your feet, because to make that turn, you got to slide on the ball of that foot, right? Point, step, point, step. And remember on both toe switches and Monterey turns, the first move is a point to the side. People just forget that when they're new. So make a mental note right now. Toe switches and Monterey turns are always going to start with a side point. Okay, here's one more quarter right Monterey. Point, turn with a step, point, step. Okay, it would usually be on the straight count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Often, we'll do 2 of these in a row. Okay, and it's a great way to practice them. Okay, in fact, you can just keep going and going and going around and around. But normally in dances, you'll see 2 of them in a row. You don't typically see more than 2 in a row, okay? So if we were to do 2 in a row, again, we start with a point. We turn on the second move, which is the step. We stay straight and finish it up, point, step. If we're going to do another one now, we point to the side, we turn on that first step, stay straight, point, step. Let's do it again. How does it start? A point to the side. We turn on the second move and take a step, and we stay straight for point, step. Let's do it again. Point, turn, point, step. Let's keep going. Point, turn with a step, point, step. Point, turn with a step, point, step. Point, turn with a step, point, step. One more. Point, turn with a step, point, step. Okay? So, a half Monterey turn. And we can do this to the other side too. I'll do that next. But I want you to do it this way. Typically, we start these with our right foot. They're a little more common. They're a little bit easier if you're right-handed. So I want to show you the half Montereys first, and then we'll practice it on the other side, okay? So a half Monterey, just like a toe switch, and just like a quarter Monterey, it's going to be point, step, okay? We're going to make the turn on the second move, which is the first step, right? But this time, instead of turning a quarter, we're going to turn a half. These can be a little bit tricky, okay, if you're new to dance and balance isn't quite your thing yet, okay? So don't worry if it's a little tricky to get around, okay? But again, it's going to start with a side point. On the turn, just think about getting your chest halfway around, okay, directly behind where we're facing right now. We're going to make the turn over our right shoulder. We're going to step in. We're going to stay straight to finish it up. Point, step. Okay, let's do it again. So here we are, our weight's on our left. We start with a side point. We turn halfway around and step. We end with point, step, facing forward, okay, not turning again. Let's do it again. Weight on your left, point, turn halfway, step, stay straight, point, step. We can do those consecutively too, okay? And often, in more advanced dances, you will find two of these half Montereys back to back too. It's really super fun. Just remember again, we're not turning every time. We're only turning on that second move, okay? Let's try that a few times, okay? So point, turn halfway, step, stay straight, point, step. Let's do another one. Point, turn halfway, step, point, step. Again, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point. Step with a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One last time. Point, turn. Oops, I did a quarter one. Point, step, point. I'll do a half one here. Turn, point, step. That was an accident that I did the quarter one, obviously. But you can practice that yourself. Just think to yourself, oh, let me do a quarter one. Point, turn quarter, point, step. Let me do a half one. Point, turn halfway, point, step. How about another right quarter one? Point, turn quarter, point, step. Okay, so those are really fun. But again, you have to have slidey shoes for this to work. Okay, so make sure that you do. All right, let's try it to the other side. Okay, again, we don't do these a whole lot, but the foundation for these would be what we call a left toe switch, okay? Just meaning that it starts with our left foot. So let's do a few left toe switches just to kind of get our mind and body connected here for this, okay? So a left toe switch would be toe, step, toe, step. All right, again, toe, step, toe, step. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we start with our left foot and we're pointing out to the left if we're doing a Monterey turn that starts that way, we know we're gonna have to turn to the left for it to work, okay? So if we do a quarter Monterey from here, we're gonna end up facing there at the end, right? Again, we start just by doing a side point. Our second move is when we're gonna make the turn and step in, and then we stay straight to finish it up, right? Point, step. Let's do it again. So here we are, weight on our right, point, turn left with a step, point, step. Let's do it again. Weight on the right, point, turn, point, step. Let's do it again. Point, turn with a step, point, step. Let's do a few in a row. Keep going here, okay? Point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step. Okay? Obviously, we could do half left turning Montereys too, okay? So let's give that a try. Again, they just start facing forward, always with a point to the side. Our second move here comes. We've got to go halfway around towards our left shoulder, right? Step, stay still for point, step. Let's do another one from here. No, let's do one from here. I think it'll be easier for you to get it first this way, okay? So remember, start with a point. We're turning half to the left, so we have to end up facing the back. Step, and finish it up. Point, step. One more time, and then we'll do them consecutively, okay? Point, turn halfway step, point, step, staying still. Now let's try them consecutively, okay? Here we go. Point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Again, we don't often do them to the left. So if they're feeling way more comfortable to do to the right, starting with your right foot, I would say get that down first, and then try the left ones, okay? Because those right ones are going to come up more frequently. Again, if you're having a hard time with this though, you really just want to work on facing one direction and doing those toe switches. You got to get that, okay? It's going to make it a whole lot easier when you start to throw the turn in. Okay, so Montereys, quarter and half.